What's up, Marvel fans? This is Stan Series, and today I just got back from the cinema and I saw the new Doctor Strange film, and oh my god, the film was amazing. And it's like I just said, this has to be the greatest solo Marvel MCU character film ever. I mean, what goes on in that film is amazing. I mean, oh my god, the chaos, I mean, the horror theme, the story is amazing, and the surprises we get in the film is really big. And also, seeing this now, it's like really getting my head thinking like, oh, is this what's going to happen in the future? Is this what could go down? Oh, is that what really happened? And what could happen next? You know, that kind of thing. So really, let's get into the whole plot then. So let's talk about it. But before I do get into the plot, obviously this is a spoiler video, obviously. So if you haven't seen the film yet, leave the video now, and then once you see it, come back here and you can obviously hear my thoughts on the film and also my fears of what could go down in the future. So I think I'm gone. Okay, for the people who want to stay here, well, enjoy the show. So when we start off with the film, we start off obviously with the Marvel intro, but then we cut into the action quickly with America Chavez and Defender Strange, a variant of our Strange, being chased by a kind of rapping creature, which I did hear of a name a bit back, but I can't recall what it was called now. But they're being chased by this creature, and they're trying to get to this book called the Book of Vutanti, or something like that. But the demon obviously nearly catches them up, but Strange tries to delay, the Defender Strange tries to slow it down. Then obviously the creature kind of blocks them off, and then Strange traps it in his own spell. But then he thinks on, oh, there might not be a way to stop it. And he decides to try and take America Chavez's powers. And it's like, I'm sorry, kid, this is the only way to stop this. And obviously, the creature breaks out of his trap and kills Defender Strange, but then grabs, obviously, America Chavez, and then she opens the doorway, makes her escape, but also dragging the corpse of Defender Strange. And then after that, we wake up to our Strange, which making him think, oh, it's just a dream. So we see him get up, getting ready for Christina's wedding. And you could see, like, when he does his magic, and it's like, wow, he's really improved with his magic. At the wedding, we get to meet the Doctor who was in the last film, and he speaks about saying Strange about, oh, obviously with us being dusty, which confirms that, oh, this guy got dusty as well. And he says about, when I got back, I learned my 2 cats are dead, my brother is dead, and obviously Strange going, I'm sorry about that. And then the guy saying about, was that the only choice, like what you did, like that outcome? And obviously I thought that was going to make a big part of the film, like, oh, maybe I have a conscious thought about that, but it doesn't come back to the film, so I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it doesn't then. And then obviously after the wedding, we see the aftermath, obviously the party bit, when obviously he speaks to Christine, and with his spell, he makes her a wine, which that's cool. And then he brings up to her saying about, wish things could have worked out with us, and all that. But with her saying about, well, I don't think it would have ever worked, and all that. But before, obviously, she could introduce him to her husband, he hears noises in the streets, and it's like, oh, looks like I got to get to work. And then he obviously makes his appearance onto the street, and then we see that Chavez is running away from something invisible, and then we obviously see it's Gargantos, which obviously people say that at first we thought it was Cyttorak back then, but it's not. But we know that Gargantos is an octopus sea creature, obviously not related, but obviously has connections to Namor. But really, you could call it that it's a variant Gargantos, obviously being part of the same species of Cyttorak. Well, being the same as Cyttorak. But then, obviously, when the fight looks like it's about to get rough, obviously, with the creature trying to get Chavez, Wong comes in, helping out Strange, and then Strange, in the fight, he brings up, a creature head thing to save a woman with a baby. Then he uses a spell to create these creature hands, to grab a lamppost and stab Gargantos in the eye, and he pulls the eye out. ending the creature's life. So he's like, oh my god, and it's like how vile it was. So they have after that they have a talk with Chavez, obviously to try and find out what's going on. Chavez brings up about the multiverse, saying about, do you guys know about it? And he goes like, of course we do. And then Strange does bring up a bit about Spider-Man, a little bit. And then obviously her saying about what me and your version were trying to get to this one book. And Strange was obviously saying about, wait. Because obviously at first Strange goes on like, well, I've already met you because of, this dream. And obviously her saying about, well, it's not a dream. And at that point she brings up about, well, variants can in their dreams, they can obviously see what their other variant's doing. So in a way, it's like a dream thing you're having, but it's like, oh, it's not a dream. This thing you're seeing is really happening to your variant. And then obviously Wong, with the, Wong was saying about the book as well, because first Strange was going like, what, this book? It doesn't exist. And then obviously Wong corrects him saying, yes, the book, it goes like, no, the book is real. But then obviously showing off Defender Strange's dead corpse. He's like, he's dead. And then Strange just buries the body. And then obviously she brings up about the creatures, and then obviously Wong going like, wait, this seems like witchcraft. And it's going like, oh, we need to get Scarlet Witch involved. And then obviously we cut to Scarlet Witch, and we see her first like with the kids, which I thought, oh, that's a bit strange. But it just turns out to be like, oh, she's having the same thing, like she's dreaming of a universe with her kids. Then we see obviously Strange talking to her, and now we know that Wanda lives in a different area of, out of nowhere, with obviously sheep and a lot of trees. And obviously Strange obviously comes to her, obviously asking for help. Wanda obviously at first thinks like, oh, it's because of Westview. And then Strange like, come to Comatose, this is where the kid is, who's being chased by the creatures. And then obviously he said about, we can get you back on the lunchbox. Because obviously he said about, we can get you back on that. And, in other words, like, we get people liking you again. And then obviously Wanda's speaking about the kid. And then she goes like, one point says, you didn't mention the kid, never said the kid's name, didn't you? And he goes like, no, I didn't. And then we find out that, because she says about she retired from her job, hero duty, but it was like, oh no, you didn't retire from her powers. Well, from your powers. And she reveals that the whole area is not what it looks like. It's like all bad and everything. And we see the dog hold, and Strange was like, that's the dog hold. And then he clicks and he realizes, oh, the dog hold, you've been reading the dog hold. And he goes on saying about whoever reads it can obviously corrupt the minds. And then we learned that, yes, Wanda is the villain of the film, which I'll get to in a bit about main villain kind of thing. And obviously, she explains that her plan is to catch Chavez, take her powers, and obviously enter to a multiverse where her kids are alive. But Strange brings up saying about, well, that he's going to kill her if you do that. And obviously, they have a little discussion. Then obviously, she says, if you don't give the kid, I will attack you, like that. But then Strange obviously heads to the Comatose, and obviously he says to her, tells him that, oh, no, Wanda's a bad guy, and she knows where you are. Then we get our quick glimpses of our new characters, like one called Sarah, and then the ball one, which he looks cool, but we don't get much time with him. But we do hear him talk, and it's not a person I've never heard before, so that this person's new, like the actor who's voicing him. Then we get to see the Wanda make an appearance there, saying about give her to me and all that, but it's like obviously they said no. But then they started using a spell to make a shield around Comatose, and she's trying to break through. But then she tries to enter to one of their minds, and Wong is like, don't let her get to your mind. But then she gets to this one person with the horror theme coming in. You see her in the air, and then you can see her creepy coming behind this one guy and goes like, what? And then this one person starts running away. It's like, oh no. But then obviously she attacks the sorcerers, and they all get defeated. She enters to the Comatose, but then she steps into a trap with all the mirrors, and it's like, oh, maybe they got her. But then she found a way to get out by turning the one glass into going through it as liquid. But then it's like they're in this one room, like they thought they're safe, and then Wanda starts attacking some of the sorcerers, like through the water, like dragging them through, and Wong's like, cover the water. That's how she's getting through. But then there's one that Chavez looks at. Wanda tries to grab her, but then she comes out of the bell thing, like the circle bong thing, I think that's what you call it, the boom, like the monks who hit. I think that's what it is. And then how she comes out is like creepy, like twisty and all that. And then she attacks Wong and Strange, and then she's like, oh, she's about to drain Chavez's powers. But then she opens the doorway, gets Strange, and they go through a lot of the multiverse. So you see the living tribunals, we see the dinosaurs, we see there's like a futurist kind of one. There's one with the animated world, one with they're cute, one that turn into cubes, and one with pain world, and there were others like you couldn't make out, like you could quickly make out. And there was one where there was like a old kind of film picture kind of thing. Then they come to this one universe, which we get to learn is called Earth 838. And obviously Strange about saying to her, well, we need to go back. And she's like, I can't. So we learned that, oh, she can't open the door. You know, she can't control her powers. And then obviously in the part of the conversation, he brings up, obviously they bring up about the dream thing, you know what I'm saying, about you could watch your variant in a dream. And she brings up saying about that she can't. But which I thought it was weird, because I'm like, wait, that's not why, because there are variants of her, because the animated versions, the game versions, you know, comic versions, I'm like, well, aren't they variants? And I'm like, surely you could dream them, but maybe in the future film might experiment about that. But then obviously at one point they must click to them going like, wait, we must find my version. So obviously they go on the streets to try and find the Sandom Centaur there. But then there was a cameo appearance we get bumped to, and it is Bruce Campbell. And he's like must be a hot dog kind of guy. And he has a go at him, because Chavez thought that in this universe you could get free food. But that is not that. And what Strange does, like before Campbell could do something to them, he does like this spell. It's like, oh, he'll be hitting himself for the next 3 weeks. And Chavez is like, are you going to do anything? And he's like, oh no, it'll be like this for 3 weeks. He's like, really? He's like, well, I think. But then they come across this this memory place, and you can see a memory of Strange. Quickly to explain, it was like just showing the day when obviously Christine gave the watch to him, and there must be like in Paris or something. Then we get a quick glimpse of Chavez's past when we see her two moms, and we see the day of her using her powers for the first time, and it still shows where obviously the dimension she's from, you know, well, a little bit, and we saw that the only reason he activated was because she saw a wasp and she screamed, and he pulled her moms and her in, but her moms did not land where Chavez must have landed, so Chavez thinks that they're dead, but Strange gives a thought saying, oh, I don't think they are. But then when they get to the Santorum, they learn that, oh, the Strange of this universe is dead, because there's a statue, and he says about him saving the world from the universe from Thanos, and he says he's the Earth's mightiest hero. And then going like, wait, but if he's dead, who's the Sorcerer Supreme? But then we get our introduction to the variant Mordo, who in the film, in the figures, they call him Master Mordo. So it's like, and to say now, we don't meet our Mordo, the MCU's one. But at first it looks like, oh, it's not going to go good. But then it gets all right, because obviously he greets them and he's like, come in. And then they go on about obviously telling Mordo saying, oh, we got this problem. And then Mordo goes over saying, oh, I've got the dog hold. And it's like, I've got the version of mine. And he explains to them saying about, oh, in every multiverse there is a dog hold. And he explains about the dog hold and all that. And then he explains to them, well, you'll be safe for now, but if Wanda knows this one spell, you'll be in trouble. And he explains about this one spell of what you could do is you can dream walk. So what this dream walk does is you leave your body and you take control of a variant version of yourself body. So for example, she heads to the Earth 838 where obviously Strange and obviously Chavez are at, and she takes control of that Wanda for a bit, you know. But back to Strange and Chavez, we see Wong being obviously tied and captured by obviously Wanda. But then the sorcerer Sarah gets the knife and like, I'll try and get the book. She stabs the book, but with the book being destroyed, it kills her as well. And then, like I said, so the book gets destroyed, and Wanda's like, there must be a way to do those spells. There have to be those spells somewhere. And Wong obviously had to say, that was a copy. I know where the spells are. And he's like, where is it? And he mentions that it's at this mountain. Something mountain, something from the comics. It is the mountain like it is from the comics where the powers come from. And then Wanda goes like, And obviously, because Wong says about the end before I get to Wanda, Wong says that no other sorcerer has ever survived to get there. But then she's like, well, we will. So she's like, gets him to come along with him. But before we get, obviously, before to talk more about what they were doing there, we see that Strange and obviously Chavez talking to Mordo. But then next week we see like they've been drugged, and they find out, Mordo drugged them. And then the next thing, they're knocked out, and then we see him wake up in these cube boxes, and then we find out that obviously Strange meets a variant of Cassine, and Cassine mentions about the I've met about your versions and all that, because Strange asks us about, do we ever come together, like, but she goes like, nope. But then obviously she mentions about the building where they're at and all that, and then obviously Strange going like, what, the Avengers, and he does throw in other words, I can't recall what they were, but then Mordo says like, not the Avengers. And then obviously Strange goes like, then who? Like, I think he says, then who the bloody hell you with? Or something like that. And he says, the Illuminati. And then we get our meeting of the Illuminati. And there, so we get to see Peggy Carter, Captain Carter. We get Captain Marvel's friend, Maria. Or is it, I think it's, no, Moran or something like that. The woman who obviously, from the first film, obviously, Carol's friend, who is the Captain Marvel of that universe. Black Bolt, who's played by the same actor who played him in the Inhumans. And he's got his comic book accurate suit, which he looks good. And then we got Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, played by Emily Blunt's husband. Which is like, oh my god. So, I mean, I was a bit disappointed because I was hoping they just save him to play the MCU version, but I still think they might get him for the MCU version, and obviously Emily Blunt as Invisible Woman, but I don't know. But then obviously they speak about the greatest threat of the multiverse is you, and he goes like, wait, how's that? And he does bring up a bit about the Strange from this world, and then we hear a voice saying we should tell him the truth, and then we get our introduction to that universe's Professor X. And it's like, oh my god. Now, obviously, we want to go back to Wanda and Wong. Now, what happens is they get to that temple, and Wong explains that this place was created by Chthon and the magic as well. So we do get a mention of Chthon, and I thought at this point, I was like, oh, we're going to have that Chthon's the main villain. But like I said, no, Wanda is the main villain, so disappointing, but But they look like they're about to get attacked by these four creatures, which at first I thought it was Chthon when I saw the TV spot, but no, it's not. But then we learned that this temple was actually built for her, because there's a statue of her, and the creatures like bow to her, and then it's like, oh, this is my phone, and all that. But then obviously Wong saying about, you can't do this, and all that, and then at one point, Wanda hits Wong, with her magic, and he gets flying off. At that point, you think, oh, he's dead, but obviously, you could say, nah, he survived that. Now, back to the Earth 838. But back there, obviously, Wanda able to control the 838's kind of Wanda. But before we see that Wanda, obviously, those two Wandas, that attack, but the attack of the Illuminati, Strange obviously was being brought up about the Supreme Strange, saying about that. But then Charles goes like, well, Strange did not die what the statue said. So Charles uses his powers as so Strange, and what really happened was their Strange read the Darkhold, used that obviously the power from that to kill Thanos, and they realized that because he read it and he's going to be dangerous, they all decided to kill him. So Black Bolt whispering, saying sorry friend, but obviously seeing how his power worked, so they kill their Strange, and it's like, wait, you did that just to save your unit, just to do that. But also as well, the reason for Strange to be at their court is like they bring up saying about, because if a beam carries on, keeps going to a lot of universes, they could cause this thing called the incursus, which is like, oh, that's what I've heard before, which I'll get into later on. Before they could give Strange whatever they all decide to do, we see that's when Wanda in the 838's Wanda body attacking the Ultron drones. They're all like, oh, we better deal with her. So obviously that Mordo and Professor X stay with Strange. Then the remaining ones go and try to stop Wanda. Mr. Fantastic talking to Wanda, saying like, "Look, you're controlling an innocent woman. Let her go." Obviously, Wanda saying about, "Do you have about the well?" Obviously, before she says something to him, he goes like, "Look, I understand your scenario." That's Mr. Fantastic I'm on about. Mr. Fantastic says, "I've got kids of my own. I know what you're going through." And then obviously she says, "Does their mother is alive in this universe?" And he goes like, "Yes." And then she makes it like, "Well, at least they got someone to look after them." But then, obviously, before Black Bolt could do something, because Reed says his mouth will destroy you, and obviously Wanda going like, "What mouth?" And you see his mouth gone, and the next thing we see his head inside of his head blew up, and he's dead. And he's like, "What?" And then next we see, Mr. Fantastic uses stretch powers to try attack her, and then she uses her powers, and she turns him into like string kind of pieces, like a string cheese kind of thing, but obviously not in the cheese form. And he kills him, because you could sort of see his head blew up, but not like we're seeing all guts and brain parts around. And then in part of the fighting Captain Carter and obviously the Captain Marvel of that universe, she ends up killing him, kills Captain Carter with her own shield, and then drops a statue on Captain Marvel. So it's like, oh my god. And then that point, that Christine is actually trying to help Chavez, but obviously Strange says to Mordo and Professor saying, "Look, you got to get me out. I got to get out of this. You got to let me help out, try to stop this." And Strange says and obviously because he brings up about the book, and he goes like, and then Professor X says about, "You need to get to that book." But Mordo, obviously him going like, "Well, no, he's got to face justice and all that." But what happens is Mordo, when Professor X leaves the room, Mordo goes like, "You need to face justice and all that." And then Strange obviously trying to get him tempered, like saying about, my version of you hating me. And then he brings up saying about, "I bet you were happy that your version of me died because you wanted me to be the Sorcerer Supreme." And then that's when ticked him off, and then he starts attacking him. But Strange wins the fight, and then the lucky about it, that Mordo survives. Now obviously Christine tries to help Chavez to get out of the cell. She breaks the glass a bit, which makes the star shape, which is cool. But before Wanda could do something, Professor X makes his appearance and uses his powers and gets inside her mind. Now he's trying to help the good Wanda, the 838 one, but the red smoke comes behind him, and then our Wanda comes behind him, twists his head, and he's like, he kills him. It was like, oh my god. But luckily, Chavez and obviously Christine escape. The very Christine escape. They meet up with Strange, saying about, "Look, your Strange knew how to get to the book. Said, can you help us?" At first, it looked like she didn't want to do it, but then she's like, "Okay, I'll do it." They make a one to down the obviously the cellars in the base with Wanda chasing them. The one point they thought they got rid of her for good, but you can hear the wind music and the jump scare came out when her appearing. He stops to her by tried to drown her, but obviously they slow her down. Come to this door, he can't open it, but obviously Christine gives him a watch, obviously her Strange's watch, which he was learning, that's the way to open the door, which they do. Opens the door to where the book is, really at the centre, actually they can be just by the book in seconds. Strange gets the book and he's like, okay, we can try and use it to stop her. But then Wanda comes in, takes Chavez, forces Chavez to open the portal to send Strange and Christine to somewhere, and then get her to open the door back to the MCU's one, pulls Chavez through that, and then Wanda obviously leaves the body of 838's Wanda, and then that version of Wanda's like, "Where my kids?" And then she runs off, obviously, back to them. And then we can see, obviously, she's about to start, obviously, to take Chavez's powers. But back to Strange and obviously Christine, they're in a weird universe when everything's looks like it's getting destroyed and it's chaos. But then it's like, oh, maybe there'll be a Smee here. He meets up with his version, the Sinister Strange. He's not the what-if one. And obviously that Strange was like, well, prove you're a variant of me. And he brings up about the sister, which I want to bring up quick, saying, it's cool that they brought up the sister. I know it's bad to bring up about what happened to her, but because I was wondering if this version still had a sister, but it confirms that he does. And then he learns that, the Sinister Strange used the Darkhold as well, and he was saying about, well, I got to use it to try and save Chavez. But obviously that Strange goes on about saying, what he did when he used it and all that. And then before they both fight each other, the Sinister Strange third eye opens in the forehead. They fight. Al Strange beats him, got him through and out of the window, and then he dies through getting stabbed with his fence spikes. And then when Christine's by him, his third eye opens and she jumps and screams. And then we can see a bit when obviously Wanda tried to draining the powers from Chavez. But then Strange goes like, right, I'm going to use the book and I'm going to try and control a variant of me. But Christine goes like, because earlier she was like, I never trusted Strange because obviously you're all the same. And she repeats that again. But he goes like, it's the only way and all that. But then Christine says, well, wait, you can't because you got to have a one that's alive. Because obviously they must have told her about the dead one. But he goes like, but then he goes like, oh, let's see if I can control this one. And he actually controls the Defender Strange's body, which is like, he's actually in that body. But he tells Christine to protect him because obviously the dead damned creatures, the dog-hole creatures, the damned with the dead creatures will come after him. Which they tried to, and then they tried to attack Christine, but she fights them off. And then she says, you can do it, Strange, you can control him. And then he does control him, which is like good, he can use them for the fight. Has a fight, obviously, with Wanda. Defeating these obviously taking on the creatures as well. With Wong as well, so Wong is alive. And obviously, Wong kills one of them, and then Strange gets rid of 3 of them. And then Strange is trying to stop Wanda. And then, obviously, Wong saying to Strange about, I don't want to know what's going on. And I was like, you don't want to know. So they stop Wanda from getting the powers from America Chavez. They try to trap her in the ball thing, but that doesn't work. She hits the corpse, obviously Defender Strange's body, and tries to turn it to like bone a little bit. That's Al Strange through that Strange telling her, Chavez, who, you can use your powers, I know you can do it. But she's like, I can't. But he's like, you can, and all that. It's kind of like one of those when they try to coerce the person, like, you could do this, you can always do this. And then she could. She managed to open the doorway. Her reaction is like and Wanda's was like, like a sinister, scary face. But Chavez beating the crap out of her. One point, you've been wondering what doorway did she open, but she opened the doorway back to the 838 universe in the living room where the good Wanda is. But Chavez did that so those kids can be scared of the MCU's version and try to sort of show Wanda that, look what you're doing. Do you want your kids to see you like that? But she does attack the good Wanda for a bit, and then obviously the kids are trying to attack the bad Wanda, and she does get angry at them. But then she's trying to calm them down, but then she realised, oh my god, what am I doing? I am doing this all. What am I doing? This is all wrong. But then that good Wanda comes through and says like, kind of says like, be with the good people, kind of like that, like, oh, that's it, be loved. Which I thought that's what she said. But then after that, the portal's shut, and then she decides, what she does is, she decides to destroy the temple, but Chavez and Wong escape through a door, asking Strange to come through, but he's like, no, I'll be fine. But it's like, oh, he'll be okay anyway, because he's not in that universe. It'll be the Corpse one that would die, the Defender's Corpse one would die. And then the temple collapsed on them, on Wong, on obviously Scarlet and that Doctor Strange, well, obviously that's Strange in that body. And it's making like that she's dead, so, which I'll get back to in a bit, which I want to have my thoughts on that. Then Strange wakes up, obviously gets out of that day walk thing, and he's like, it's done. And he realised the dog hole gets destroyed, and he's like, oh, looks like her destroying the temple destroys all the versions of the books in every multiverse. And then, obviously, before he leaves, he says to Christine, like, I love you, like, saying, I love every version of you. And she's like, kind of in her words. So, and then, obviously, she says words to Strange. And then Chavez opens the door, like, come on. And then we see him back at the Commissars, and then now she's been tried to use the the orange magic, so that's going to be interesting. So it looks like she's going to use her powers and also that power as well. And then obviously the ball looks like he's trying to help her with that as well. Obviously Wong and Strange obviously speak some words, and then obviously it's a goodbye. And then obviously he was saying about the kind of saying about what you would like, Strange, when because he says about, well, she needs to take it steady, and he goes like, I knew another sorcerer who didn't take it steady, and they training. And it was like, oh yeah, why? But then obviously they say goodbye, and then Chavez goes like, says say goodbye, and then Strange goes like, I hope you do find your moms, and all that. And then when we see him back at the Samson Torn. He fixes the watch, his watch, which that was good. And then when you see him walking, music in the background, it's like, oh, everything's back to normal. Everything's going to be fine. But then the music in his head, it starts getting louder. He collapses onto the floor, and then we see a third eye open up in his forehead, and the screen cuts to black. It's like, oh, what's happened there? And it was like, oh, so very interesting. Very interesting. So that's how that film ends. But the mid-credit scene is the surprise. But there is two, but let me quickly bring up what happens in the two of them. So the mid one, we see how Strange then just walking normal. So it's like, oh, that didn't happen. We hear a woman's voice saying his name. And we get out introduction to Dumont, whose niece is Clea, I think. Well, her name is spelled with Clea, and she's being played by the actress who plays the evil witch in the Snow White and the Huntsman. So it's like, oh my god, it's her. And she says about your actions have caused the incursion. So it's like, oh no, that's happening. She opens the doorway to the dark dimension. And it's like and he asks her, are you gonna come with me? You know, all that, or are you scared? You know, like fear. And then we see him turn into his costume. The third eye opens, and it's like, he's strange he says some words to her, and then they like go through the portal. And then it's like, oh, okay. But then we cut back to obviously to Bruce Campbell. Obviously, this slap stops, and then he laughs, and he goes like, it's over. And then it's like, oh, is that it? It's like, that's it. And at that point, I thought we get the Deadpool scene, because I heard rumours about Deadpool, but no, we don't. So really, that was like the whole film, really. But I do want to inform my thoughts on this. So before I tell you what could go down, all I want to focus is, like I said, the story was amazing. I loved the story. The action was mind-blowing. The horror, like I've been saying, the horror scenes, like, oh, good. Now, the one thing I would say is like, introducing new characters in this film, and it's like, you don't really get much time with the new characters. Like, maybe just a quick info to say, who they are and everything. I mean, Chavez we do, obviously we get time with her, but it's like with the Boar, Sorcerer, and the Illuminati, we don't get time to hear about. I mean, we sort of do, but not much. But that's not a big problem. It's like, look, you got to fit in the multiverse, you got to fit the other stuff in. And I was like, I could take that. You know, I could go with that. Sure, maybe some people might not have liked that, but I'm like, I still find the film amazing in the end. And like I say, it's like, you can't really do a lot with them if you've got to try and fit in the multiverse and other stuff into it. So, you know, so I could take that. Now, seeing the other variants was cool. It was cool to see the actor playing Black Bolt again, but obviously that tells me that obviously that was the variant, so it's not the one we saw in the Inhuman show. Like I said, I was shocked about they actually got that actor, the Emily Blunt's husband, to play that Mr. Fantastic. But I was hoping for maybe the 2005 one to play him again, but no worries. I mean, I said to myself, hopefully the MCU's variant they'll get that actor back in, and maybe Emily Blunt to play Invisible Woman, but we don't know. Good about bringing up about Chthon, because I was saying, because I was hoping that Chthon was going to reveal to be the main villain, and he's like, oh, you find out that, oh no, so Wanda was being eliminated by him, and it turns out he's the main villain, but they don't do that. But I am hoping he does make an appearance in the future, but, you know, because it looks like there was one statue that looked like, oh, is that him? But I would say the statue is him, so I'd say this ain't the end of him yet, or hearing about him. Wanda is going to be a question, because I don't think she's dead, because we got to have her meeting with White Vision, so I believe she's going to be alive. You know, she didn't die. But the kids one is going to be interesting, because I'm like, I thought the kids would be back, so they don't. The MCU version was back, so I'm like, I wonder how they would be, because we got to have them back for the Young Avengers, because obviously they're going to be setting that up. Now, the ending part, which was a bit strange then, what happened to Strange, so it's like, obviously, Third Eye, obviously that explains, because obviously when the Sinister one explained that, obviously reading the Darkhold can, we heard about the Darkhold can corrupt people, so obviously the Third Eye must have came from that, which obviously him reading the Darkhold, so in a way it was like, because with Strange saying that the Darkhold is destroyed in every multiverse, but now I'm thinking that it's not, because obviously, if it's the third eye, so I think the Darkhold is somehow still acting in the multiverse, but we'll have to wait to see how they'll explain in the future. Now, the mid-credit scene, this is kind of sort of setting up maybe his third film and also sort of hinting of the Secret Wars, because it's obviously the big event is going to be the Secret Wars, you know, with the multiverse all going against one another and trying to fight for survival. And now with Dormammu's niece in it, I said I wonder if Dormammu will be back in the next film. So, and it's cool they got the actress in, the one I said. It's cool they got her in it, and the costume looks amazing. So, we'll be interested to see. Now, the incursions. Now, like I said, the incursions is mainly more like, if you, like they explain it, if you cross the multiverse, like go to other universes, more times than ever, if you keep going to them a lot, you're going to cause an event when two universes are colliding with each other, or the one starts going to be destructed. So it's like, so obviously that's a bad thing, and it made it sound like that was a thing that was part of the Secret Wars, so that could play a part. And then obviously we don't need to know about the post-credit scene, because that was more like a funny post-credit scene. So that's really it, guys. So all I could say is, like I said, the film is good and all that. Future-wise, I mean, what could this mean for the future? I mean, like I said, maybe the Darkhold's not destroyed. Chthon, obviously, he's got to make a full appearance in this, because Wong doesn't say that the beam's dead, so it must be, if they go with the comics with him or being trapped somewhere, so I'd say they'll keep that, hopefully. And then obviously, now seeing Charles and, you know, and Weed, and obviously the Black Bolt, and because now, in a way, that tells me that the Inhumans have got to be in the MCU still, so I'll be with that. With the now getting us assignment to wait to meet the MCU's Charles and Reed Richards, so it'll be interesting to see who plays them. But like with Reed, I'm hoping he is the actor who we just saw in this film, so I don't know, but we had a way to see. But for Captain Carter, like I was thinking, like, because she's dead, I don't think she was the what-if version. I think she was more like, because obviously I would say that's the one we saw is the 838 version, and the one we saw in What If is another universe one. So you don't need to worry, because I know you might be thinking like, wait, since she possibly in season 2, so how's she going to be in it? She's dead. But I mean, they might turn around and say, oh no, that's the one from What If, but we'll have to wait to see. So that's really, guys. So if you've seen the film, leave your comments down below and your thoughts of what you think of it, and give your own thoughts, like what you think is going to happen in the future and all the stuff I said. I want to hear your theories and hear like what could go down in Doctor Strange 3 and obviously Secret Wars, and what could go on with our board, or what we could see in the future. Also, give the videos a thumbs up if you like the video. Share this out to your friends, so if they want to watch someone different for once, show them one of my videos, and if they like it, they can subscribe to this channel. And if you're new to this channel, this is what I do. I do the Marvel and Transformers Cinematic Universe, well, the spoiler reviews. I also do the news, the Super Bowl TV spots. I say I'll do the clips, but not really. I don't really. I avoid the TV spots, but I mainly avoid like the ones that kind of act like a spoiler, trailer, TV spot kind of thing. You know, that kind of thing. Like I said with the spoiler reviews, I do that with the Transformers as well. And last but not least, if you see me last more video, click here, my channel. Make sure you click the bells to be notified when new videos are up. And here to see me last Transformers video. So that's really, guys. So all I gotta say, I give this film 10 out of 10. And quickly to mention, I got to see the new Avatar film, the trailer of it, and it looks cool. And you'll be surprised what it was shown on that. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Film was amazing. The horror's great. Wanda, like a Wanda, she brings in pretty good in the film. Everyone's good in it. So that's all I gotta say today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video of the spoiler review for Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Peace.